Up tonight. Well, it's not a bad night, but it might rain later, but we won't think of that now. So the AGM of the Stratford Society is open. Do we have got an agenda? I think let's tell you what's coming up. We've got Alan Horsey, who's going to talk about the new arts and culture strategy for the town. I hope that's what I've got down.
I hope so.
And then we've got apologies, my report, the Treasurer's report, the Heritage Exhibition Chairs report. So that's 3 reports, I'm sorry, but you know, we just can't put up with it. Acceptance of the reports and accounts, the appointment of an independent examiner, which also comes under Jonathan, and the election of the General Committee. If you want to actually read any of the reports at your leisure, they are all up on our website now. Okay, so without any more ado, I introduce Alan, who you all know from his previous podcast.
I'm going to stand out of the way here. I've got some slides, but I didn't want to interfere with the technology. So what I'll do is we'll get the slides distributed after. So thank you very much for asking me to do a little Précis update. So it was January or February when I first came to talk about bid in general, and then came again in September with Rachel to talk about the arts and culture strategy. And I suppose this is just a sum up and a roundup of where we're at with those various projects. So we're exciting times now because there is a new town website in town, and we've got the arts and culture strategy that was launched and endorsed last week by the district council. So I wrote on my slides chicken or egg, because actually they're so entwined with what was going on at bid and in the town a year ago that they've sort of merged into one. That the website was actually an action within the arts and culture strategy that artists and residents and businesses were saying, actually, we're not all in one place. We're all over various Facebook forums, we're on our own websites. When visitors come to town, when residents come to town, where do they look? So that came out of those conversations a year and a half ago, and they're now coming to fruition. So, sorry that I'm going to have to look down now because I can't look behind me. We've had a year to 18 months of engagement with businesses, residents, with yourselves. Hopefully you will have seen links. And the feedback that was coming back about Stratford was that we're amazing. We're rich in culture. We're rich in heritage. We've got great assets. We've got green space. We've got the river. And we never shout about it as we should. We're not good at shouting about it. And that was coming through in all of the feedback, whether it was online, whether it was in person, whether it was a workshop. So those have been distilled into the new town website. I know the screen's gone off, but could we get it? Could you get onto the web at all? Or would that affect everything? Well,
I don't know. I can show your slides if you want.
I'll just leave it because I don't want to interfere with the recording on my points. And I know people are watching on Zoom, aren't they? So I don't want to muck that up. Rachel spoke to us in September, and I think everyone in this room got to see the 6 themes as they were launched, because I think they'd only just come out a couple of days before. So you saw that the arts and culture strategy has got 6 themes within it. It's about an inclusive and welcoming town, led by the community, more diverse art and culture in our town. And by that, we're already creating a lot of it, but we're not letting people know about it. That we're proud of Shakespeare, and we're going to go beyond him, and we're going to think about how we can make that more modern for more people. It's better connected and supporting, and we're looking ahead to the future. So those 6 themes came out in the art and culture strategy, but they also sort of came out when we talked about the new town website and how we'd like to promote ourselves. So they started to merge as one, which is really great. We are now at a phase where all of the organisations that have been involved in the pushing forward of the arts and culture strategy have endorsed it, have read it. District Council was the last organisation that wanted to take it through its cabinet and council processes. And that happened last week on the 9th. So that chapter of the book is now closed. The hard work now starts as part of that arts and culture strategy, because it's all well that we've got a 10-year strategy. We actually have to do the work now. So it was really difficult getting it to that point. It's going to be even more difficult working with it over the next 10 years. And this is the point where I'm really excited that locals, residents, businesses and artists can now properly shape the doing, which is the bit we can actually all affect. We had a first workshop last week. So as part of the arts and culture strategy, from a governance angle, there will be a steering group of about 10 to 12 organisations that are looking at monitoring it, creating the actions, pulling it together, advertising, communication, and looking at how we work on the process of it. And then there will be a wider stakeholder group of, say, 50 to 100 people who will get together twice a year and feed into what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we're looking at creating regular quarterly monitoring meetings with then much wider stakeholder events throughout the year. And last week was the first stakeholder event, because as well as the arts and culture strategy, this competition called the Town of Culture for the UK, for England, got dropped on everyone's lap. For us as a town, it was quite exciting because we just spent 18 months collating lots of data, asking people what they want. So I feel, and everybody that's been involved in the arts and culture strategy, that it's a no-brainer. We are going to apply. We've got all of the data, and hopefully we can get through to the next round. The timelines on that process are very short. So we have now got, is it the date today? 16. So we've got 12 days to get the application in. So it's been quite a process to get all of the feedback and information to start writing that application. And it is, I have a feeling that we'll have hundreds of applications from towns across the UK and across England. What makes Stratford different? Are we already two cultures in the eyes of central government? So it's something where we have to shout out about what's not happening in Stratford, but also in the back of my brain, having talked to a couple of people and thinking about central government, do they want a safe pair of hands for their first town of culture? So actually, we might be in a good position to get into the next round. It will be tight because the first round is being judged on 12 boxes, each with 400 words in. So yeah, we've got to really think about it. So that sort of confused this month, because this month was meant to be, well, the next 2 months was meant to be taking strategy into delivery, but actually we've got the town of culture happening at the same time. So the group last week worked on all the themes within the strategy, and actually people started to create the hows, the whats. I have physically not gone through all 30 sheets of A4 paper that were all created with post-it notes. It was a lovely session. Thank you for coming. Thank you for feeding in on behalf of the society.
Hopefully you like our post-it notes.
It was great. They've all been done, so we've all just got to sit now and digest it and move it all into the right boxes. So it was. I'm very hopeful for us being able to pull together an action plan based on that strategy. If you haven't already seen it, we'll get the whole strategy document sent electronically through the minutes for everybody and all the members, but it's publicly available now. Very exciting times, because we really will get some actions where people want to do things. The difficulty, and I can't remember if the gentleman's in the room that talked about funding the last time, is the funding. Because at the moment, we're all doing it out of the goodness of our own hearts. We're writing reports late at night. We're pulling it all together because there isn't one organisation that is responsible for that. So at the moment, it's love, hard work and tears that are writing these documents, and we really do need to look at how we push this forward and get our case to all of the organisations in town, to the town trust, to the town council. How do we fund something that's more manageable for the next 10 years? Because we'll all change jobs, we might move on, and we need to make sure we're looking at this in the future. On through that bit. I don't need notes, do I really? I can just talk. So that's the arts and culture strategy in a nutshell at the moment. The second bit I was going to brief you on was the new town website, Stratford all in one place. It's been a difficult but very, very rewarding process over the last 6 months. I talked about the principle last year when I came to speak to you, and it's now come to fruition. We worked with Stratford Town Council, Literary Festival, Discover, Gather, Give, Shakespeare's England, Town Trust, and ourselves in looking at how we could create a place where everybody could feed in. Everybody had the ability to log on, put on their own events, put on their own businesses. So it's not just about the business improvement districts. This is a website where as many people as possible that work in Stratford and run events in Stratford and want to showcase what's going on here can do it for themselves. I hope we've made the process as easy as possible. It should, I've done it a few times because I've had to pretend to be lots of businesses that couldn't do it, so I think it's okay. We launched it 3.5 weeks ago. We're getting slow traction on what is www.stratfordupon-avon.org.uk. We couldn't believe that was still available. We'd gone through all the permutations of what we would have to change the branding to be. Would people like just Stratford upon and even ditch the Avon? That was a conversation that was had, because actually, if we were going to be more modern and think to the future, Stratford upon could have lots of things after it that would represent the town. So from a branding and a marketing point of view, it works. But were we that modern? Were we that progressive that we could drop the Avon when everyone had said we love the River Avon? But no, so that's the new HTML. If you haven't been on there, please go and have a little look. Because it's only been launched for 3.5 weeks, we're still in that little bit of development phase. It's been live, and you've been able to see it since about November, but it didn't go publicly live because we've been trying to work on it to make sure we ironed out as many of the creases as possible. If anyone's got any suggestions, if anyone's got any additions.
I'm looking at it right now, it looks lovely, but I've just clicked, one of the
Oh no, you
sites.
found an issue, haven't you?
No,
Right.
It's a straightforward question. I see an option. I clicked on the Guild Chapel, and I did this a moment ago with the Swan Theatre. And the first option it gives me is claim ownership.
Now that comes to my email.
What does that mean exactly?
So, it's easy to take questions as you go along. So, when building it, I had the ability to put in the 382 bid businesses because I've already got their website. Ultimately, I'm ditching the business listing within the bid. So on the bid website going forward, it's going to be about our networking, what we're doing for businesses, how we're working with businesses, not where people can find out what's going on in Stratford. That is what stratfordupon-avon.org.uk is about. Because actually, the messages were getting confused at what bid does for town, but actually I work for businesses. So we've created these separates. So to do that, I could put the 382 on. The people that were working with us could put their own businesses on. How do we now get the people to update their own listing? I can spend all day of my life going through Facebook and social media and websites. Quite a lot of businesses do not put when they're open on their own websites. But that's because they like to change it, or they know it's going to change on a regular basis, they don't put it on. So actually to find stuff about this, I was struggling to even update our website. So it was a conscious decision that everybody should be able to own their own business, and it's very easy for them to go in, change they might say, actually, I've got a 10% sale on today, come in and they can change it straight away. So we're in the phase where we want people to claim their listings. It's amazing how many emails we've sent around. I think I've probably done about 30 emails to all of my big businesses to say, you can go in now and claim your listing and alter it. We've even been slightly canny. And actually, if you don't put the opening times of the business, the little red dot and the little green dot is based on your opening hours as a business. So people are phoning up to say, it's telling me that the business is closed. Also, you've been on the website, good. Yes, you need to go in, create your account, claim your business, and if you just change your times, you'll be open. So it was almost a stick to say, people, look, we really want your help here because it's about shared responsibility. And on there, well, I'll point over. On that side, you've got the businesses. And right up here, you've got live, work, and locals, I think. So that is the site, the area of the website.
The internet's working now. So what's the web address?
www.stratfordupon-avon, all one word, .org.uk.
Yeah.
And on the right-hand side there, it's about locals, it's about community. So that's where we'd love all the organisations to be. If you're running a knit and natter, if you've got a club that is open to the public, get them on there as an event. Get yourself on there as an organisation, because there's no place where all of these organisations can showcase what Stratford's got. That means more people want to live here, more people want to move here, more people will say, actually, it's a community that I can see and stuff. So that's what that side of the website's about. I'll now admit that there's one development issue with that, is that lots of weekly events are starting to be put on the website, and they automatically then appear at the start of the what's on. So we're just working out how, because what I think will happen in a few weeks is that there'll be a page that says weekly and regular events for communities. And so warm hubs, knit and natters, bums and tums, whatever's going on in the various places can all be put into one place. Oh. I've got a complete off tangent now because we start to talk about development. But it's really exciting because we're in that point where we can again shape it. We think we've got it 85% of the way there. We're now going to, every sort of 2-3 months, step back and go, which bit isn't working, which bit is working. So please do feed in. Please say, actually, I can't do that bit, or this bit doesn't work. And as we get more things happening and more businesses on there, we'll have more categories or tags, and then we can perhaps look at how we then represent the businesses. Because at the moment it's on visit, what's on, discover food, shop, visit, live, work and locals. This is where you can find all the local stuff that's on. This will change. So currently there are 3 A's that keep going across: aromatic, amazing, and whatever the other one is. And we will start to change those every month. So at the moment, there's still going to be a lot of work happening each month to try and create a great place and to showcase what we've got. Someone else is going to have to do the literary angles on all the A's, because I will run out of A's by the end of the year. We've started the list. And if we want to showcase more of our coffee shops or more of the green spaces, we can start to do it on here at the top. I think it's great, but I'm a little bit biased. I do want to, at some point, step slightly away from it, but it's been a really useful addition, I think. What we've got here, branding-wise, is something that came out of the public consultation. They were picked because we didn't want to be too typography-based and too literary-based. We wanted to find a new modern font that had the river in it somewhere. So you can't imagine how many conversations we had about that little bit there. The blip, or it was called various other bits throughout it. But it was little bits like that were really important to everyone in the room to go, actually, we're still going to have the river on there somewhere because we want to represent it. How do we do it? There's a full branding guidelines and kit that we can share with as many people as they want, because ultimately we'd love to start using this on town posters. The sort of buttermilk cream blue, new wayfinding in town. It would be great. We've got the lovely totems that were put in 20 years ago, I think now. They're slightly out of date. They don't point to the right places. They've got things like town. What was Belcourt called before it was Belcourt? Town Square. So they need a little update and a refresh. And we've never used the logo that got created 20 years ago, I don't think. I've never seen it continue through its life cycle. It happened as a project and I don't think it carried on. This will be a way for us to look at that and actually start to get businesses to put the posters and the logos up. So actually we get that joined up approach to Stratford on it. But let me just check my last slide. No, that's where we're at with those two projects. The Arts and Culture Strategy, which you'll see from the document, has started pulling bits of the same logos and colourings. And we've got the new town website. So, any questions? There's got to be some more.
I think the website's really nice. I like the branding. Is an app in scope or out of scope? I know you've been asked that before.
I haven't been asked it recently, actually. For me, it almost started with the app, but that's because at various national conferences and previous life at the county council, I've seen lots of work where the app is working and actually the website kicks off the app and then go the other way around. It wasn't quite what Stratford wanted at the time. So it was almost a case of, let's get us all agreeing that we like the colours and we like the same fonts and actually it's sort of showcasing Stratford in its best. I can then work. And maybe it might cost a little bit more to go the other way, but I think getting the foundation right would be good. But yeah, it's kind of where Stratford upon came from, because actually that's quite nice on an app. The Stratford upon, and with Stratford upon, up to Stratford upon, yeah.
Pothole.
Not as
Stratford on Pothole.
or Leicestershire. So yeah, an app. I would love an app because for me, an app would work for residents and for tourists, because I know I've got the Go Blackpool app, I've got other apps, and I get a little ping in my pocket to say, oh, don't forget so and so's at the theatre tonight. Don't forget you would normally go. So yeah, I'd love it
for the regular.
Yeah.
People that are coming from Birmingham or people that are coming every week.
And we've got however many million coming in. We got 10 million on the footfall counter last year. There's positive news. January, the town's up by 4% on footfall from the previous year. Rest of the country was average minus 3%. February, we were 0.4% up on our footfall from February last year. So when I hear all the doom and gloom about the high streets and town centres, actually, January and February start this year was not as bad. We were better than last year. So yeah, I'd like to see the app. I'd like to see us servicing the residents and our local community more, because the international tourists will come. That's Shakespeare's England. They will be able to pull, and they work with Dubai, they work with all the international hubs to get people understanding what's going on in Stratford. From this gives me the ability to shout more at Chiltern Railways, at national highways, to say, look, we've got a great product here. We just want an extra bit of line. We just want a bypass, or we just want more services coming here. So people will say, well, it's really easy to get there as well as having a great offer. So it sort of, yeah, gives us more to shout about in one place. And any businesses in the room, any more community groups, you can just log on and we'll do /login, and it will take you to the bottom of the page. I feel like Debbie McGee got to the bottom of the page for me, please. Lindsay, can you? Oh, right at the bottom of the footer, there's a little button that says login. Cool. There we go. A little bit further down. There. Oh, there. So at the bottom of the footer, you can log in there, and that's where you'll create some accounts. Please do let me know.
Well done.
Okay, anybody got any more questions?
This is unheard of.
You're talking to us now. Do you have sort of public meetings where my son or my friend or whatever, where they'll be able to come along and hear what you have to say?
Oh, I suppose we wouldn't normally do a public meeting, but the town hall or any town meetings, they're always public. I hadn't even thought about doing this to the world.
Well, for instance, I'm probably not good to Scottish country dancing, you do various things, and people like that might not get to hear about it if I don't.
Do you know what yes?
How do little niche groups
But
or individuals get to know?
we've launched press 2.5 weeks ago. The social media channels are also linked to it. So the social media channels and Facebook pages, we're not going to let people make comments on it. This is meant to be an information sharing piece where they can find out the truth, not argue with each other. It's a statement of fact what's going on in Stratford. If people want to bicker about it, they can go somewhere else to do it. Not on this site, not with the branding. Actually, this is just what's going on. So within that social media, and dare I say TikTok, I'm not even of the age that TikTok is relevant to me, but we need to start getting some influencers in town. We need to start to get more people shouting about that. So that would be a way to do social media as well. But I will take away how we train the trainer, how we get the filtered message to everybody's little networks.
You need to go to the schools, get the kids doing.
I would like to just challenge an assumption that's under what you say, which is increasing footfall is good for the town. I would argue it isn't about the number of visitors or the number of footfalls in a particular area. What the town needs is footfall that spends money.
It does.
And I don't think that's addressed anywhere that I've come across yet.
It is a thing, but we always have to remember that we do have to balance that. Because in the current, we have to balance, absolutely, we want ABC ones to come into town. We want the families that have got disposable income to come into town. That's what shops want. They would love that we only advertise to the people with money who would come in and spend. That is the panacea. We have to make sure that our residents want to come to town. So actually, we have to show the offer of everything, because families and one of the key things are that residents, people were saying that residents didn't feel like they could come to Stratford.
But I'd argue residents are on the main the most reliable spenders in coming into the town. So I don't think it's a contradiction. I think the contradiction is that sitting right here behind a lot of the standard talk is an assumption that volume equals prosperity and improvement. I suspect, if I think of the national parks, many years ago when I was involved in one in particular, we did a lot of research and found the biggest problem we had with national parks was too many visitors.
Sustainability of
What's happening is, quote, loving it to death. And actually, it's not numbers that are so important. It's targeting the people you actually want. We've not heard any real work done around this town about who we really want. I'll take it, your comment about the A1s, etc. But I'm not sure that's just it. It's much more complex.
And it's almost ethical tourism as well as ethical sales, and absolutely. I don't know how we could justify saying that our town is only for certain people.
It is. By anything.
Absolutely.
Whether people will go with it is a different issue.
Or whether you then alienate a whole set of people who are regular spenders, who spend £10 each week in town, or do we want the person who comes in once every 3 months and spends £1,000? But I take your point on board. It's how we now market this into those areas where those people will spend. So if we know ABCs are here in North Oxfordshire, we can start to push this to those places where those people are. But having more people and having businesses see a vibrant and buzzing place means that investors will also come. So some of those units out of the 8% that are currently empty in town, they'll now start to look and, well, the Ivy's a good example. You saw the announcement for the Ivy last week, but since then, it's getting quite a lot of positivity about the town. That positivity will breed positivity, and actually other people will now say, well, actually, I'll have that old Mountain Warehouse Blacks unit opposite, because actually suddenly the rent on that is appealing because I'm going to have people coming into Stratford again. So I take your point on board, and I'll take that away and how we're pushing the assets we've got. Because we do rely on residents and people from Birmingham and people from to come to town to experience our green parks, the Avon River, and some people will come because current climate, people haven't got as much disposable. Some people don't have as much disposable income. Anything else?
Anybody got anything else?
I'm stopping for the AGM to look at up 10 seconds.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
We'll sit down and have a sit. Okay, have we got any apologies? Is anybody apologising for being here or apologising for being here?
Ian Fradgley. Ian Fradgley. Apologies.
So, I'm afraid you've got me now. So, Chair's report for 2025. During the year, we had a variety of speakers with topics as diverse as Stratford's suffragists, Stratford's food bank, old maps of the town, and the Shakespeare Club, as well as Venetian gondolas, including the gondola owned by Stratford's best-selling author, Marie Corelli. Here's my pet. We also heard from the Royal Shakespeare Theatre and Stratford's Business Improvement District. All the talks were well attended and well received, with many questions to be answered by the speakers. We ended the year with a fiendish quiz, which those of you who were there will know how fiendish it was. On the civic side, we had discussions with various members of the town and district councils and contributed to planning and transport issues and reports. This year saw the Stratford Society start its call for a heritage centre for the town. We quickly convened a steering group for the project, and I'm glad to say it was a great success. Running from June to September on Thursday to Sunday, we were pleased to be able to liaise with the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, who lend us the use of Harvard House, which is a great draw in itself. Imagine that. The SBT also loaned us the use of display cases and the artefacts to go in them. A team of volunteers was recruited from within and without the society, some of whom attended a course to become a first aider, because that was a requirement. If you're having two volunteers with loads of people coming in, looking at your exhibition, one of them's got to be a first aider. So we had to do that. It was okay, it worked. We also had the support of the Town Council, the District Council and the Town Trust. The first Stratford Heritage Exhibition, which we call Sheath, attracted more than 7,500 visitors from all over the world, and many delighted expressions of praise were gathered in the visitors' book and exit cards, as well as in the donations box, which surprised us all, the amount of donations we had. The Stratford Society is growing in membership, and with another diverse range of speakers lined up for 2026, which you could see on the website, and another sheet to organise. So if anybody wants to volunteer who didn't volunteer last year, please don't hesitate to come forward. We appear to be on course for another successful year. So that is my report from last year. It's leaving this year. So, Jonathan, would you like to give us the treasurer's report?
Follow that, that's made number 6.
Yeah, you can get rid of that, thank you.
Making the screen.
Grab that photograph and do it on it and not get that on it.
That's no.
Next slide, please. During COVID.
Here we go.
Ah. Well, there's our income. So, yeah, restricted is exactly what it says. Restricted to Stratford. Oh, we've moved. Are you staying there, Lindsay?
Yes.
Right. So, looking at our reserves, again, restricted for Stratford, Clarks and Murray Pirelli. We can only spend that money on those things. Unrestricted includes funds that committee have set aside, designated for specific activities. So we have a decent chunk of money following a successful Stratford Heritage exhibition, having designated £2,000 last year. To be down only 47 quid is not bad, really. And we've got generous reserves for plaques in case those owners that we put a plaque outside their house don't have the funds to go halves with us. Or the point about this column is it is unrestricted. We can change our minds about what we designate things for. You can't change your mind about restricted funds. We have a healthy amount of cash in the bank. It's gone up from last year and it's still going up. Next slide, please. So looking at our income, as I said, we had 2 drawdowns for Stratford. One came less than 2 weeks before the end of the year, just in time. We did slow down a bit on Stratford during the year, largely because the dendrochronologist and the lab, the dendrochronologist was poorly during the year and not active until December, and the lab have a backlog. So we weren't getting the flow through of results, which then translates into us moving forward and spending money and analysing what we found. We've slightly dipped on subscriptions. There were a number of early January members who, didn't renew in December and joined us again in January. And the Heritage Exhibition generated a fantastic amount of money, which also meant that some of that is actually gift aid, because you can, on donations, you can recover gift aid. Next slide. What we spent that on. So the governance and admin is kind of the general cost that we're going to have year after year. So it's these two figures together which, give us our running costs. And it means that given the reserves that we've got what most charities would kill for in terms of the number of months cover for general running costs. If you can get 3 months worth, you're doing well. 6 months worth, you're really going for it, and we're above that. Heritage Open Day, which no doubt will happen again this year. And look, Christmas quiz. Next slide. Yes, that just shows the bottom line and where we're at the end of the year. Are there any more slides, Lindsay, or are you there? That's how the Stratford Heritage Exhibition was funded. Committee agreed support. Great British public generously donated into our box. We sold exit through the gift shop merchandise, and Stratford District Council gave us money for promoting the exhibition, which was great. Net of what we spent delivering all of that, and we're almost back where we started from, which is fantastic. And 7,526 visitors. Couldn't believe that that's what we would get when we kicked off right at the beginning. I think that's it, isn't it, Lindsay?
So we're in a good financial
We
place
are.
then.
We certainly are. As I said, membership is growing. We're back up above 200. We were below 200 at the close of the year. So, yeah.
Anybody got any questions for Jonathan?
Can I just add something about the payment plans?
Yes.
The next half dozen are being delivered on about a week's time, and they'll be laid quite soon. And then we agreed at the committee meeting last week that we would that will represent the end of that particular phase of the payment plans, and that we would revise the leaflet, and then we would have we would advertise walks along this line, led by members of the society, would be able to explain exactly why we had to have a historic spine in the first.
So that £5,050 we got set aside last, a good chunk of that's going to get spent, and we will have the funds to refresh the leaflet.
Well, I don't know whether the money's come in already for those. I mean, some of them are commissioned, and they're commissioned by the people who own the properties.
Because we set aside the full cost, but then the likes of Barclays and HSBC stump up the cash, so we don't need it. Which is why I say it's designated rather than restricted, because we can then reallocate that to some other priority.
But the only plaque that's not being paid for is the one on outside of Chaucer Head Bookshop, which is they're funding it to the tune of 50%.
Yeah.
So we're only taking out 500 or so from that. Yeah.
Correct. But could I just say at this stage, I really do think that everybody involved in this plaque undertaking deserves a really big well done, because it's I just think it's the best I've seen anywhere. I think it is just exceeding good, and so I think the society should be really very both pleased and proud of what it's achieved in that. Yeah. Thank you, Lord, for your art.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, and now we have Ellie Stevenson, who was the chair of the steering group behind the exhibition. So she has a tale to tell.
So have you got the slides, Lindsay, please?
No, I haven't.
John?
I have, but I'm not sure whether
While you two are sorting that,
You know,
I'll just give you the first bit of information for which you don't need a slide. So how did it all start? So in February 2025, the Stratford Society took responsibility for the first heritage exhibition. And how that happened was that David Austin, who with a number of people had been working on the idea of a town museum or a town exhibition, approached the society and talked about that with us. And we decided, a lot of us feel that it's really important to share the history of the town and history of the townspeople as well as Shakespeare. And so we decided that we would take that on and have a Stratford Heritage exhibition. Well, as you've already heard from Jan and Jonathan, this went even better than we'd expected. So the exhibition ran from July, the start of July to the end of September. It was 4 days a week from 10:30 to 3:30 and Thursday to Sunday, apart from the first 2 weeks, which we only had it open for 2 days. And as has been mentioned, we had 7,500 visitors, and that was over just 48 days, which I think is staggering, and certainly I didn't expect that. But I'll carry on. What happened was we had a lot of support from the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. We worked in partnership with them and signed a memorandum of understanding, and they gave us their support. They also gave us access to Harvard House, which obviously is a fantastic building to have a heritage exhibition in. And they gave us additional support as well, in that they provided the cases for the artefacts. They gave us access to their objects and artefacts from their collections, although we did have some from private collections as well. And they let us use some of their images as well, because we had a series of display posters for those of you who may not have seen the exhibition. And many of those images, again, came from the SVT. Additionally, one of their colleagues, Mark Ratcliffe, helped in training our volunteers in how the building worked and using it safely. And as Jan has already said, we as a society trained up. We had 27 active volunteers altogether, and we trained 8 of them, or we had someone train them in first aid. And we already had a 9th volunteer who was already trained, so that was a bonus. Volunteers worked in pairs. They worked morning and afternoon. And then when we'd been open a few weeks, we also introduced a lunchtime shift, which was really, it was just 2 hours, and that was really useful as a crossover period. And also, obviously, it was particularly busy in the lunchtime, so that was really useful. And thanks to Jonathan, who flagged up a system called Sign Up, which apparently they use at the Guild Chapel. We used this website, Sign Up, to get our volunteers registered. So it was very easy to work out when people were available, when we needed extra slots filling in, and so on. How are we doing, guys?
I can't copy it over while I'm running Zoom.
Okay, no problems. I'll just carry on. So a lot of the next slide was going to be, or the first slide really, was going to be about the achievements. Now, you've heard quite a lot about that from Jonathan and Jan, so I'll just reiterate 3 or 4 key achievements. You've heard about the numbers. We also had over £1,400 in donations, which again, we didn't expect. So this year we're getting a bigger donations box. We also sold artwork, postcards, some books, and we made, for the society, we made £421. That's the net sales for the society. And obviously the artists who had their books and artworks for sale were also very happy when they got sales. We had fantastic support from Stratford District Council, who gave us £925 for publicity related material. And one of the key things that we did was we encouraged visitors to fill in feedback forms. So we managed to get 528 people to fill in feedback forms, which felt great at the time, but it's actually only 7% of our total numbers. So we're doing the exhibition again this year, and this year we need to get 10% really, but it was a fantastic achievement first time round. And we also had 1,400 people sign the visitor book. So again, that gave us some very valuable information. Any progress? No. Okay. Right. So what did we actually have in the exhibition? Is there anybody here who hasn't been? Right. Okay. So I'll keep this bit short because you've all obviously been around, so you know what we had in it. But succinctly, we had 9 interpretation posters, which are posters with images and text on about the history of the town. We had 4 display cabinets with artefacts and I'll talk a little bit about those later. We had several maps of the town. These maps were really popular, and that some of them were older maps like the winter map, and some of them were street maps, but the visitors really liked the maps. There is a model which I'm sure you've all heard of called the Harry Canal Basin model. Sadly, it was too big to fit in Harvard House, but we did have a video of it, and the Herald kindly allowed us to use their video that they'd made of an interview about Harry Can's model. And we also wanted to encourage people of all ages, so we had a children's colouring corner and quizzes and activity sheets for families. So and the other thing was that when you have information on posters, you don't want a lot of text. You want people to look at them, but not to be reading a lot of text. But obviously we had lots to share, so we made 10 information leaflets that people could take away. So they didn't have to read everything there and then, they could take it away and read it at home. And as part of the publicity for the exhibition, we gave out 2,000 plus flyers, and various organisations, including Tourist Information, were fantastic in sharing those with people. So we did a lot of work, and this year I keep telling myself it's going to be easier because a lot of the stuff we did was from scratch. Like we had to source the boards that the posters went on, and we had to do measurements to make sure that everything fitted in the building, and we had to work out what would be needed for a children's corner and so on. So what did we learn from our surveys? Okay, so 79% of our visitors were over 45 years old. 65% were over 55 years old. So obviously we had an older demographic. 90% identified as white or white British, and 88% were from the UK. Of that 88%, nearly half, 42%, were from the local area. In other words, they were CB37. So that gives us an idea of the kind of people who came into the exhibition. In terms of how many people actually turned up, the average number of visitors per day was 156, but obviously that varied. So, for example, on the most popular day, which was Saturday the 16th of August, we had 285 visitors. So our poor volunteers, of which there were only 2 on at any one time, were very busy. Saturday was actually the most popular day overall, and in total over the period had 2,153 people through the doors, which is quite a lot. And not surprisingly, the most popular weeks were in August. Thursday, the week starting for us, Thursday the 14th of August, the 21st of August and the 28th of August. But our 4th most popular week was the last week that the exhibition was open. I like to think that's because they all realised it was closing and thought they'd better hurry quickly. And one thing that we discovered was that we had 2 volunteers, and often they'd split things up. So one would stay inside and another person might be on the door to kind of tell people about the exhibition as they passed, or to drag them in. You didn't hear me say drag. Anyway, the survey showed that 53% of people were just passing by. Now that could be a good thing, it might not be a good thing, but it does mean that the people who were on the door were obviously doing their job and encouraging people to come in. 18% of people came to the exhibition through word of mouth, and 8% via social media. So obviously there's work that needs to be done for this year to raise the profile of the exhibition through social media and through other methods. And we've already enlisted someone who's going to help us with that. So what did they think of this exhibition when they came in? 97% rated their experience as good or excellent, which is great. Nobody, not one person, said that it was poor, though admittedly, if you thought it was poor, you might not feel informed. But then on the other hand, people like to complain, don't they? So I think the most popular parts of the exhibition, not surprisingly, were posters and objects. That was 76% rated those as the most interesting parts. In terms of content, early Stratford was really interesting. So we had things like old coins and very old beads. And that early Stratford part of the exhibition was very popular. And as I said earlier, the maps were popular. And followed by the early Stratford, the other areas that were of interest were industry and people. People want to know about the local industry. They want to know about local celebrities, if you like. So what did they want to see for the future? They wanted more objects, more space, the whole house. A lot of people wanted to be able to go upstairs. Unfortunately, we could only showcase the downstairs. but people are repeatedly asking us for that. They want more interactive activities, which I think is really important to get young people and children involved. And they'd like to see a permanent exhibition, which obviously we were all very pleased about. And in terms of content, they're interested in old buildings, the social history of Stratford, how the town developed and how people lived. And we're going to be looking at that hopefully in 2027, where we're going to be concentrating more on streets and buildings and the people that lived in the streets and courts. So that's what we've got planned for next year. So finally, just to give you an idea of the flavour of this year, because obviously we're doing it again with higher targets. But this year we're focusing on anniversaries, so 100 years since Theatre Fire, 200 years since the Stratford and Morton Tramway, and 50 years since Concord and Pashley Cycles. We're doing... Sorry?
It's 100, actually.
100? Oh, thought it said 50 on the website, but okay. More on Tibor Reich, which we did last year, but there's a whole wealth of material and there's connections to Concord there. Something on suffragists and suffragettes, Clopton House Hospital, the heritage lampposts of Stratford, and last but not least, little known women who have a role to play. So we did feature this year people like Mary Corelli and Annie Justins, but one of the women we're going to be focusing this year is Hepzibah Harris, who made patchwork pictures from her house in Church Street and displayed them for the public and also displayed them in the old theatre. So we've got a lot of work to do, but hopefully not as much as we did last year. And finally, the whole long-term aim is to make this not just an exhibition that turns up every year, but a heritage centre or museum for Stratford, to showcase the townspeople and the town's buildings and the story of Stratford, as well as the story of Shakespeare. And also we owe a lot of thanks to the SBT, who have been fantastic partners to work. Thank you.
Anybody got any questions, Freddie?
That done too quickly.
I think maybe the She exhibition is something we could put on.
Absolutely. It needs its own little page as an event when it's open, and the plaques as well. Plaques should have a page because people will see them when they're visiting. It's an attraction.
Good. And the talks, the walks and talks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Has there been a discussion of putting things like First and Second World War stories in there? Because there are so many good ones in this town.
Sorry, which story?
First and Second World War stories, people, there are so many good ones from this town.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
I could recommend a few.
Okay, thank you. While I think of it, before I forget, before we move on with the agenda, if you don't mind, Shakespeare's birthday parade. Is there anybody here who would like to participate, like we did last year? Any hands? Yes, is it Wendy? Margaret will probably, as she did last year. Yeah.
Nancy?
Lindsay? Oh, Lindsay's doing something.
Yes, I'll be with the town council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do with 10 people to support a flag for the Stratford Society. So, which will cost us, of course, it's 60 quid to pay for a flag. So it would be rather important for as many as possible to come to Shakespeare's birthday, unfurl the flag. You can, if you're feeling fit, march all the way down to Holy Trinity and back again. With my other hats that I have, I know that we won't be doing that walk. We are going to turn right and go to the Boathouse restaurant. So yes, I mean it is. If you can make it, it's a good showing for the Stratford Society. Yeah.
And if we want our flag to be hoisted, you're okay for the society to pay £60.
Yes.
Out of our amazing service. Yes. Okay, good, thank you.
The form must be filled in ASAP.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
I
traced.
thought I'd wait until
Yeah.
this meeting to
Yeah.
make sure that there's nobody.
Can I just ask, our number is not limited. I mean, we are 200 odd members. I'm not saying that all 200 are going to come along, but
Yep.
there's a no limit on on the numbers.
We can put out, I think we ought to put out a shout. So
Okay.
people to enjoy the parade.
Remind me tomorrow.
Changes. Yeah, okay.
Right, I certainly feel inspired, so I might come along.
Okay, so we've got acceptance of trustees' reports and accounts. Now, I'm aware that they only went on the website very late, so you probably haven't had a chance to look at them. What we can do, I think, is as they're on the website now, if you could all look at them, and I'll put out a shout to all the members to have a look at them, and if there anybody who wants to quibble, obviously none of you lovely people are quibbling, but anybody else who wants to quibble, then we can sort it and certificate them, whatever, next meeting. I think that would be, no,
Need to do it now.
need to do it now. Yes, well, okay. Are you acceptance? You've seen the treasurer's report. Are you accepting of the treasurer's report? Yeah, yeah, okay. So what happens then? Jonathan and I sign something like our lives away or something. I don't know. Anyway, if that's okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Do
thank
we need
you.
to vote? We need to vote on that, the acceptance of
Right.
acceptance of
Can
the
you vote
accounts.
please if you're accepting? Put your hands up. Thank you. Anybody against? And that, okay. The whole thing. Thank you very much. And the appointment of the independent examiner. Jonathan, do you want to say something about that?
Independent examiner. Yeah, I don't have any issues with Burgess Bullock. One of their big things was editing my first draft so that it said Stratford upon Avon with a capital U. Ooh. And it had to be a capital, and I thought that would become a massive issue because that's the way it's styled. I told them about Stratford on Avon being equally accepted in some quarters. Stratford on.
Yeah, I can't say because the bid got purchased with a big U, and it was before my time, sort of had to put a big U.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, they kind of put their junior on it, and they find as much as they can. It goes up the pecking order, and so there are a number of edits, post spotters, and that sort of thing. But I don't have any issues.
Thank you. So
are we voting for that?
are we voting? Yes, everybody happy with Burgess?
Anybody feels that,
Even though they've got a big view.
and equally, if anybody feels that we should have a full audit rather than an inspection, now's the time to.
Anybody want a full audit? Anybody against Burgess and Bullock? Okay, thank you. So now we come to the election of the General Committee, office holders and trustees for this coming year. We start with Kevin, who is our president. Would you like to say a few words? No. I don't think you would.
Just one word. No.
You're happy to remain president?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So the positions we've got are chair, deputy chair, secretary, treasurer, membership, planning, town centre, historian, publicity, cheese share, transport, governance. And at the moment I'm chair. Lindsay has been deputy chair for about 8 years, is that right, Lindsay? And he's now stepping down. So I want to give a vote of thanks to Lindsay for being our deputy chair for the last.
Yeah.
So that does mean we have a vacancy, but we do have a candidate But I won't be asking you if you want to step up yourselves. The treasurer is Jonathan. Jonathan's willing to stand again.
Yes.
Membership, John.
Yes.
Willing to stand again.
Yeah,
Margaret Hung, who isn't here, I know she's willing. She wants to carry on with planning. She's very good on planning with Margaret. Town centre, John Scampion.
Yes.
John. Yes. Oh yes, there you are. Thank you. Historian, Bob.
I'm still interested in the subject. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's the means.
Publicity, Helen.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. At least she's chair for another year at least. Yes. Transport, Steve. Steve, don't think Steve's here, he's staying. But I know that he's already said to me that he'd like to carry on. And governance, Ian.
Yes,
Thank you.
if needed.
Okay, so is everybody happy with us to continue in the roles that we've been continuing in for the last however many years it is that we've been going? Hands up, please, if you're happy. You, anybody objecting to that? Oh, but look outside. Instead of the deputy chair, which was now vacant because Lindsay's stepping down, Margaret, who is our planning officer, is willing to step in, and I think she will give it a yes. So, propose Margaret to become deputy chair.
Second that.
Yes. Thank you. Everybody for?
Yeah.
Can you raise your hands if you're for Margaret? Thank you. Anybody against? No. Thank you very much. So I shall. She's at present, we hope, in Cyprus. We just hope she's going to be able to get back in time, sometime. So thank you. That's Margaret.
What are we going to do about a secretary?
Well, that was my next point, Lindsay. We haven't had a secretary for a couple of years now, and what's happened at the committee meetings is people have been taking it in turns to do the minutes. And it's not satisfactory, really. We do need a secretary, and I'm aware that you're only a very small number of our 200 odd membership. So I think if nobody here would like to be secretary, I think we ought to put it to the big membership. John, yes. Can we do that as well? Yes. Is everybody happy with that to happen? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, any other business? No?
Can I just ask a question about what do we mean by governance?
Okay, Ian, would you like to tell us?
It's all in order.
I think it's just really an overseeing role, as I interpret it, just to make sure that the society is keeping on the straight and narrow, but we're not breaking any laws or copyrights or things of this nature. Because otherwise, it sounds trivial is not good enough to say, but it sounds minor. But you've seen some organisations get into terrible trouble over legal and other issues that can really literally knock them to the ground. So that's as I see it, but that doesn't stop me contributing in the committee on all other things which my experience will help in.
Thank you, Ian. Anybody else got any questions?
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Could I on behalf of the membership thank last year's officers and congratulate this year's officers on going forward. In picking up what Ian was just saying, we do have to have a committee. We are very fortunate in having quite substantial funds for an organisation of its type. And I think the achievements that have been achieved in the last 10, 20 years are so remarkable for such a small organisation, such an international power. And it's all down to members and people who volunteer to do these roles. And looking around, seeing younger people, we look forward to you coming forward as well. Thank you very much. Not that there's any pressure.
If you want an opportunity to potentially increase your quite substantial, a bit of a confession and a opportunity. I work for Severn Trent, and there is a large community fund, and I can put you in touch with the people that can have a pre-conversation about whether an application will be successful for funding, not just an application for funding.
On the river. It is really quite.
I'm thinking.
Thank you so much. So I wonder if you could all join in thanking.
Thank you very much. Yes, Lindsay.
Yes, I'm stepping down, as Jan said, after 8 years on the committee. I joined as a member of the society in 2017. 2018, I became membership secretary. Did that for 2 years. I then became secretary for 1 year, and then took over from Kevin as chairman. Did that for 2 years, and before I handed that over to Jan. So one of the reasons I'm stepping down is that I think it's necessary for a continual flow of new blood into the committee. Anyone who stays in one position for too long becomes fossilized, I think. You need to be learning, active, and engaged with the job that you're doing on the committee in order to do it well. And I would really ask everyone here and in the general membership who hasn't already served on the committee in some way to give it serious thought, to do a term as some in one of the officer positions, whatever you feel is the appropriate thing. At present, we desperately need a secretary. This is a really serious difficulty for the committee, which we're unable to function as strongly as we should be able to. Of course, the job of secretary is being shared out amongst everyone, and it's impeding what we're doing. And so for this meeting, about 3 or 4 of us, Jonathan especially, have been doing what should have been the secretary's job. So the other reason for being on the committee is that the discussions during committee meetings are wonderful. Probably only 10% of the time is spent on what the membership is doing. The other 90% is more like a town council meeting. Great deal of knowledge and understanding about the well-being of the town and things that need to be done in the town to make it better. So you just coming to these meetings every month, you don't see any of that wider discussion. And so please, all of you, search in your hearts and think whether you can join the committee in some way. Although we've had this election for the officers for the next 12 months, anyone can be co-opted to add to the general group on the committee. Right, so that's it. I've had a great time on the committee. I've learned a tremendous amount, and I've really enjoyed doing all the things that I've done. And I have a huge respect and admiration for the skills of so many people on the committee, capabilities. It's been great. So thank you all.
Well, we've run over. Well, no surprise, but thank you all very much. Thank you for your support. And Paul, you never did find out if the Guild Chapel was up for sale or not, did you?
No, it's not. It's now with the Swan Theatre. You just need to take photos of themselves.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
and